For me, before, sexy was dressing like this or dressing like this, showing off my body, appreciating my body, and showing it in ways that brought me attention that maybe I didn't really want. We're bringing sexy back. If you're new here, I go by Jem. Here, we like to talk about all things BPD related, managing BPD through relationships, motherhood, and what that looks like, being a late life lesbian, inclusivity, self-care. Today I want to talk about something that's become a topic in my brain when it comes to what it means to me to be sexy. I think rediscovering my sensuality and my definition of sexy as a late life lesbian who has completely decentered men. I think there's something that's so beautiful when you come to that point where you're like, wow, I get to do life for me. I get to dress for me. I get to do my hair, my makeup for me, not for the gaze or approval of men. And that's not to hate on men or anything like that, but I just don't care what y'all think. I realized a long time ago that I really didn't care for the compliments of men. And still dressing for the male gaze, I realized that I still was receiving a lot of those compliments from men. It's not that they're an issue. I just think that there's a way that men give compliments and a way that women give compliments. And I want to start this by saying this is not all men. There's a large population of men who can give a compliment and keep it pushing. And I think that's the difference between the way that I have received compliments from men and compliments from women, where women will give you a compliment and keep it moving, whereas a lot of men will give you a compliment with the underlying motive to try and get your number, to gain access to you in some sort of way, which I found very uncomfortable. And I also didn't like being sexualized. I realized in the past I was hypersexualized by men, and that came in the form of compliments towards just my physical appearance. And when people would actually get to know me, they'd be like, wow, you're actually so smart. Wow, you are a good person. You have a lot going on in that brain. You have so many good ideas. And I actually value those compliments so much more than anything else, but I don't know what it is. I saw that maybe something in my birth chart makes me more prone to being sexualized. And that's something I'm learning to navigate. And through coming out late in life, I think this is something that I'm refocusing on. I think as we mature and grow through life, our idea of sexy also changes and matures and becomes something new. I also believe that there's certain things that stay very baseline, right? But for me, before, sexy was dressing like this or dressing like this, showing off my body, appreciating my body, and showing it in ways that brought me attention that maybe I didn't really want. I'm very comfortable with my body. I think it's something that I love celebrating. My body has been through so much in this life. It has carried me through every day of my life. It has carried and birthed a human. So I can't help but love and appreciate it for what it is and what it's carried me through and how it continues to carry me. But receiving DMs that completely objectify my body and sexualize the parts of my body that I'm not even sexualizing in certain posts. I could be wearing shorts and a t-shirt and receive a DM about my thighs and the way that they look, and men taking that too far. And even before coming out, I realized that I didn't like being in certain spaces because I didn't like the attention that I was receiving from men. So this is the start of my journey of rediscovering what sexy is to me as a late life lesbian who has within the past 2 years decentered men completely. I think there are certain aspects of fashion and the way that we dress that I think is so much more beautiful and delicate and sexy. I'm realizing that it's not so much dressing for male gaze or female gaze that is what makes me feel sexy. It's dressing for sapphic gaze. When I'm in my most feminine energy is when I feel sexy. I have nothing against the stereotypical Instagram baddie aesthetic, but I just feel like that's not me anymore. I think that was something that I enjoyed putting on because, okay, I look good, I feel good. But in reality, I did not enjoy the type of attention I received from that. So I think I'm realizing that it's so much more fun to navigate this world and dress like a girly girl. And that's something I'm just rediscovering. It's I think dressing feminine and like even just showing shoulders. I think shoulders are just so beautiful. Collarbones, like this area, I guess it's like this triangle, not even incorporating the lady lumps, but just literally like right here where my necklace goes to, shoulders, collarbones, all of this, I think is just such a beautiful expression of femininity for me. And even if I'm wearing a more baggy outfit, which I didn't really wear before, like when I think about the past, most of my outfits were very tight fitted, skin tight, you know, type of outfits, which I have no issue with. I think it's the way that I wear certain things now that creates a completely different aesthetic, even with the same clothes. I feel like the way that I envision myself dressing almost feels like a coming home event for myself, because in the past, I used to accessorize heavily. I used to wear like the rings that had like the attachment to the bracelet. I liked body chains. I used to do all of that, okay? That was a big expression of me as a person, was just accessorizing and putting my outfits together and being just cool to me. But I had friends in the past who kind of like tore that down. They'd be like, oh my God, you're gonna wear that? We're just going here. Or they would be like, you don't have to wear all that jewelry. You don't have to do so much. I feel like, I don't know if it was a part of not feeling comfortable in my own skin and problems with self-image that I had at that point in my journey. But I can definitely see that like I shifted away from all the things that I enjoyed doing, certain things that I like doing with my makeup, which I realize now is just like parts of who I am, and the freedom of expression that I think is your clothing, your accessories, your makeup. I really watered myself down and allowed myself to become a version of myself that was palatable for other people. So I think in my mid to late 20s is when I started to really discover my power in my sexuality and my expression of my sexuality and my sexiness through my clothing and accessories. But I definitely was still pretty minimalistic when it came to accessories. And so now that I'm here in this space, in this version of myself, I'm realizing that I love accessories. Like my girlfriend got me these cute gold hoops for Christmas last year, and I have not taken them off. I love wearing anklets. I love wearing gold. I love a cute purse that matches with different outfits. I love putting outfits together. It doesn't have to be skin tight or super revealing for me to feel sexy. I feel like at this point in my life, it's going to be a lot of like trial and error and experimenting. For me, I actually enjoy wearing like bigger, baggier clothing and accessorizing that and adding feminine touches to that versus wearing something that's just so tight and restricting and uncomfortable. I just don't find it comfortable to squeeze myself into an outfit to be appealing to somebody else. Be so for real. Like, I'm not doing that. Another thing that I think that I identified with being sexy was my long, thick hair. I will insert a photo here. I had really, really long hair. And for over a year, I felt called to cut it. I was like, just cut it off, just cut it off, just cut it off. And so it was while I was going through this phase of rediscovering myself and my sexuality and coming out that I was like, cut your hair, cut your hair, cut your hair. And so I went through a lot of emotions with that because I did feel very attached to my hair because I felt like having long, thick hair meant, oh, you're so beautiful, you're so feminine, you're so sexy. It was attached to my definition of my self-image. And after cutting it to this, I realized that girl right there, she looks good with short hair. She looks good with long hair. And I honestly felt like there was a weight lifted off of my shoulders when I cut my hair. And I could do a whole other video on my experience with that spiritually and how that felt to me and the energy that I feel like I released from cutting my hair. Seeing my hair short was a shock. I think for a moment I questioned like, okay, can I still be sexy with short hair? But I think that like Sexy comes in many layers. I think one layer of it is how you feel on the inside. Another layer of it is your outwardly expression of that. You know, maybe it's what you wear that matches the feeling on the inside that can allow you to feel sexy. I think it's the way that you carry yourself through the world. It could be one style of your hair that makes you feel sexier than another, or just in that moment, that hairstyle's like, that's it, that this is sexy. I think your sexiness can also be shown through your intellect and the way your mind unravels and figures things out. For example, the other day, Dev and I went to go pick up a walking pad from somebody from Facebook Marketplace. They owned one of those like Amazon stores and they were selling it for a decent price. So we're like, okay, let's go check it out. I wanted to test it out before we brought it home because I'm like, I don't want to bring this all the way home and then it doesn't work. So we plug it in, it's not working. There's Dev, the guy who owns the store, and myself, all on different parts of the internet trying to figure out how to get this thing to work. Okay. It's on, there's power on, the remote is showing that it's working, it's lighting up, but it's not, they're not speaking to each other. So like light bulb goes off in my head and I'm like, hey girl, they're just not connected. They're not connected. We got to connect the remote to the walking pad, kind of like a TV. You know, when you get a new remote for your TV, you're like, okay, I got to put in that code to make it connect. So I was like, how do I do this? I ended up just going on TikTok and I figured it the frig out. And I was like, I feel good. Something that Dev did that reaffirmed that good feeling that I had about myself was she just kept talking about like how smart I am and how I'm so resourceful and how I was just so persistent and trying to figure it out and how I got it done. And that made me feel sexy. Like, compliment me on my mind and the way that it works and the way that I figure things out. That makes me feel real good. So I think with that, it's like that expression of sexy, when it came to the way that my mind connected those dots and figured that out, that's a version of sexy for me. And so it doesn't have to be in tight clothes and lingerie or high heels. And I feel like sexy can be modest. Sexy can be loose fitting clothes. Sexy can be your mind. Sexy can be your personality. Sexy can be parts of your body that you decide are sexy. And I think that that's the beauty in it all. But like, I don't care what the outside world thinks is sexy. It's like knowing that my partner finds me sexy in all the versions that I am, and that raw acceptance for who I am in every version of me that exists, when I'm having a down day, when I'm having a happy day, when I'm manic, when I'm hyper and being silly, when I'm upset and overwhelmed or overstimulated. Having somebody who doesn't have to be in my corner but chooses to be, I think that has allowed me to accept different versions of sexy for me. So if you made it this far, I thank you so much for watching. This will be a series that dissects the individual parts of me that I believe are sexy, and I'd love to incorporate what you think is sexy. Let's have a conversation, hit the comments, let me know what you think is sexy, because I think it's different for everybody, and I think that's so beautiful. Is like beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and we have the ability to just find different things sexy. That rediscovery of sexiness that is not limited to the male gaze and societal standards. Like, let's break outside the box together and rediscover that. So make sure you subscribe if you want to be a part of this journey so we can rediscover sexy together. We're bringing sexy back.